Okay, here we are. And the last time we were playing, you and Claudia were venturing from the depths of Lowtown to the up streets of Hightown. Do you remember what else happened last time? Quick recap.
Let's see. Awesome.
Sure.
Uh, yeah. So, let me see. Yeah. So we spent some time talking with William, the wizard,
Yeah.
and interrupted happy time for William.
Well, just looking at one dirty magazine. Not that bad.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting him. And then got some information on Shadow in the Moonlight spell.
Yeah.
A lot more about the influence of Lester's father.
Yeah,
He may or may not
there's some
have
speculation going on right now that old man LeFoe might have done some messing around with magic and somehow triggered the
done.
Shadow in the Moonlight spell or something of the sort.
Yeah, either on purpose or inadvertently.
Inadvertently, yeah. Do you remember what your old man, the special blessing he had received, what it was?
So he'd gotten a special blessing from Jay Ellsworth,
Yeah,
allegedly, which is a reversal sort of spell, which would reverse certain things, make him impervious to certain kinds of magic.
right, yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, but basically that's the gist of it. Yep. All right, and so you guys have decided to make it up to Hightown, and do you have a particular destination in mind, or are you just kind of meandering?
Well, I know we were supposed to make it up there to talk to somebody in particular. I'm going to ask Claudia. Claudia, do you remember where we were supposed to go in Hightown? I remember there was a place we were supposed to go.
Well, Claudia says, Parfinia told us that there was a bloke named Etor who possibly might be connected to this whole Neven business. And she said that he's employed at one of the high houses somewhere in Hightown, one of the manors, but not exactly sure which one. And we can try going door to door and just asking people if you want. Or we can just, walk around in circles until we inadvertently bump into him. It's up to you.
Is there maybe we could go to a place where people would tend to hang out, maybe a bar, or restaurant, or a meeting place? Is there something like that's up there?
Right.
I don't.
Well, the problem with so you guys are walking through Hightown, and the problem with Hightown is that there are no bars that people without passes can get into. You basically need to have a pass. You need to be a member of a club. It's filled with sort of exclusive, think like gentleman type clubs. So kind of hard for you to get into if you don't have the proper credentials. And I'm going to say that you guys are just kind of meandering about, walking about the streets around here. You do notice that you pass a lot of people, and everyone up here is wearing finer clothes, fluffier looking clothes, and everybody looks more well-to-do than the people in other parts of the city. You do see a lot of pamphlets pasted up onto walls and against the sides of houses, kind of advertising something. If you want to, you can take a look at those.
Okay, let's take a look.
Yeah. So the pamphlets that are pulled up on the walls, they all appear to be advertising a party that seems to be in preparation for this very evening. And it's a party in celebration of Immortality Day, which is tomorrow night. It's like on the eve of Immortality Day, there will be a party at the manor of Lord and Lady Malus. Okay? And Lord and Lady Malus are two of the biggest nobles in Hightown. They have one of the biggest mansions. That's what you do know. And I don't know if you remember, but a while ago in the... actually, a long time ago at this point, when you were in Luris Square a long time ago, you picked up a copy of the Tartec Tribune. And I think also when you were in the sewers, you also found a stack of newspapers that Fast Eddie was looking at before he got devoured by a crocodile. And within those newspapers, there were some articles about Lord and Lady Malus talking about how they're two of the richest nobles in Hightown and how they employ lots of servants from Neva.
Okay.
So their house, which you can walk towards, their house is actually over here.
I wonder if we can try to sneak into that party.
Yeah, you might be able to. The thing is, right now it's about it's still in the morning, so the party isn't until the evening time. But there's a lot of pamphlets posted up all over Hightown, so it seems to be a very big bash. Like, you get the impression that all the nobles are going to try to show up, and you have heard tell of Lord and Lady Malus's parties. Like, they happen every eve of Immortality Day, but the membership is pretty exclusive, and obviously you've never been present to one of them before.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's take one of the pamphlets.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe try turning your volume down just a little bit, because I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay.
Just a tad.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah. So, yeah, okay, you can take one of the pamphlets. And would you like to go in the direction of their house?
Yeah, let's go scope out their house.
Okay, so you and Claudia meander down towards Lord and Lady Malus's manor, which is right here. And ironically, it's on like this huge cliff, and it's kind of overlooking Lowtown. And if you look at the map, you can actually see your office from there. You can see One Willow Avenue. And a lot of this is the most expensive real estate in Hightown, because it's sort of overlooking the little people in Lowtown, as you can see. Yeah. And so these are where the that's why the whole neighborhood's called the manors, because only the biggest and best houses are there, and the nobles like to sometimes congregate on the cliffside in the morning and peek down at how the common folk are doing beneath. It's extremely pretentious.
Okay, well, now we're there.
Alright, so we will head towards the manor houses. 1 second. Let me move to a new map. Alright, so we are on right in front of Lord and Lady Malus's manor house. Okay? And basically what you can see right now, it's a very large, very elaborate looking house made of very fine architecture. And you can see two guys standing outdoors. They appear to be, guarding the house. Yeah. What would you like to do?
Well, let me see here. Let's, I'm just looking around to see who's around the other side. Well, we might as well go up to these guys.
Right. All right. What would you like to say to them?
Um, why don't we start by saying we're looking for that guy. His name is Etter or something like that?
Yeah, Ettor.
Yeah.
Ettor. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they were just ask these two guys up front if they know of that name.
All right. Which one would you like to ask?
I don't know. This guy and the bald-headed guy, I guess. I'm looking at him. So.
Okay, so the bald-headed guy looks at you and then gives you the once-over, and then he's like, "Looking for Ettor, huh? Who's asking? This is private property, by the way. Best speak up, or we'll have to show you off the premises. Lord and Lady Maloose don't really take kindly to strangers and riffraff from Lowtown walking around their house."
My name is Lester LeFoe. I'm a detective.
A detective? What might you be detecting, by the way?
There's been a series of disturbances around town and in the royal. We've been asked by the king to investigate a few things, so we're just doing our due diligence. Want to make sure there's no issues that happen before Immortality Day. Make sure there are no issues that happen tonight for the big shindig.
For the big shindig, huh? So the guy looks at you, and then this fellow over here, he also starts giving you guys the once-over, and both of them appear to be pretty distrusting. And the guy on the left is like, "So you're working for the police? You got papers or credentials?"
We're not working for the police.
You're not with the cops, then? Well, so if you're not with the cops, you're just a private citizen, so we really have no real reason to do anything you ask. Is that correct?
Yeah, you don't have to do anything. You might actually be upholding investigation from the orders from the king, but if you want to do that, that's your problem.
Okay, so the guys aren't really, your argument is not particularly intimidating them. If you want to, you can try to, let's see. If you want to, you can try to use the, you remember that you guys have a forgery kit?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to, you can try to make like some kind of like forgery or sign from King Darian that basically gives you permission to be walking around and investigating and questioning people. But you'll have to go out of view of these guys in order to do it. Because right now they're basically staring at you and not particularly trustworthy. And your arguments aren't particularly strong enough for me to let you do a check to try to convince them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just get out of here. I don't do much here.
Okay.
We'll go to another place.
Okay. I will say that. Okay, so I will say that as you prepare to leave, you do hear the sound of voices from inside the manor. Okay. You do hear the sound of voices from inside the manor, and it seems like there might be a bit of an argument going on between the people inside. And so there's a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of arguing, and people aren't screaming at each other, but the voices are relatively loud and a bit harsh. And so then, as you're about to go, the door opens, and then you see a man dressed in fine clothes leave the house, and behind him is a woman who appears to be his wife, and they argue for a bit on the doorstep, and then the man steps out and says, "I don't have time for this, I need to get going. I've got a big trip, and I've really got better things to do, my dear. I'm sorry, you'll have to take care of the party yourself." And then he walks down, and both of these two guys, they kind of bow to him as he leaves and says, "Safe travels, Lord Maloose." And this fellow in the middle, who appears to be Lord Maloose, he nods to them and says, "Thank you, boys. You take care of my lady while I'm gone, and make sure everything goes well with the party. I've got business to take care of." And then he strides off, passing by you guys. He doesn't bother to acknowledge you at all. And then he exits the premises. And then you can see that as he walks down the street, he hails a large cart that appears to have been parked nearby, and gets on the cart and then takes off down through Hightown. So he appears to be going on some kind of expedition of some sort. And then this woman here, who appears to be Lady Malus, she shakes her head in exasperation and says, Immortality Day coming up and you can't even bother to stay to make sure the party gets off to a nice start. Why am I even married to this man? And then the two fellows surrounding her, kind of shrug their shoulders and do their best to offer their sympathies, but there doesn't appear to be much that they can say. She's a bit exasperated at the moment. If you want to, you can try talking to her.
Well, at this point, I think if one of us split, can we do that?
Yeah. What would you like to do?
One person tail that guy, the husband, and one person talk to his wife, and then meet up somewhere else afterwards.
Sure. Do you care who does it? Claudia is looking after the cart. She can tail if you want to.
Yeah, if Claudia can do that, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, whisper to Claudia, like, can you tail that guy?
Okay.
And then let's meet up. Is there like a central spot in Hightown?
It's basically just huge manor houses, so you can just meet up on the street somewhere.
Yeah.
It's manor houses and like clubs that you can't really get into. So if you want to, you can just meet up on the street. Claudia, I mean, she doesn't know Hightown very well, but she can follow a cart and scamper through the roads.
Okay.
Okay, so Claudia says, "Right away, Lester," and so she takes off. Running at a sprint to try to keep up with the cart. Okay, and so what would you like to say to the woman of the household?
Well, excuse me. I happen to notice that there's a big party going on here. Coming as a representative from King Darian, I don't exactly work for him, but I've been investigating a few issues that have been happening, disturbances in the kingdom recently.
Lady Malus smiles when you mention King Darian and says, "And may he live forever and ever and ever."
Yes. Well, so recently there was some events which put his life in danger, and he's asked me to look into them so Immortality Day does not get disturbed. And given that your party is one of the biggest events in Immortality Day, naturally stopped over here to see if there was anything else I could do to help you make sure that the party goes off as planned.
Well, Lady Malus says, "Thank you, you're very, very kind, and I haven't heard anything about this Immortality Day troubles that King Darian might be having. What's going on? You said that there's an attack on his personage? Did somebody try to hurt him? Is he alright?"
Well, he's fine. There's not a lot I can really divulge at the moment, but he is fine. We're investigating a number of issues in the city, some of which may involve some political things that are difficult to get into fully at this moment, but he is okay. I think the main thing that we have been asked to do is to make sure that the events over the next couple of days go as smoothly as possible.
This fellow here, and he stands by the side of Lady Malus with his hand on a sword by his belt, just in case you try any sudden movements. And this guy here says, "My lady, I would advise against talking to this man. He's just a private citizen. He's not with the police. He doesn't even have any proper papers." And Lady Malouse says, "Oh, you two worry too much. I'm sorry, my friend. What did you say your name was again?"
My name is Lester LeFoe. I'm a private
Lester
detective.
LeFoe, and you aren't from Hightown, are you? I don't think I've seen you around before.
No, my work tends to keep me in Lowtown. That's where I have my office.
Oh, how quaint! An investigator from Lowtown. How positively unusual. Well then, if you'd like, you're free to come in and check out the house. I could give you a cup of tea. And, the party isn't until 7 tonight. I don't believe you've received an invitation, because they were only sent out to people amongst Hightown, but you're welcome to come in and look at some of the setup or peruse the household, and I'll try to help out in any way I can. This fellow here says, "But my lady, I don't think it's a good idea." And she says, "Stop worrying so much, Bernard. It'll all be fine." And then she introduces you to the two men and says, "These two, Bernard and Jasper. The bald one's Bernard, and Jasper's this aggressive-looking young man here. Both of them from Neva, both of them the bodyguards of myself and Lord Malouse, and two very wonderful bodyguards they are indeed. Please, come in, Lester." Bernard and Jasper look begrudgingly at you and then open the door for you to go inside. So, Lady Malouse enters the household and sits on the couch, and you're welcome to go in as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so she lets you in the household and says, "Would you like a cup of tea, a glass of water? Can I do anything for you?"
Oh, no, thank you. Actually, mostly there's a particular person that we came here to, well, not necessarily here, but they're looking for a man, a Nevan, supposedly named Etter.
Etter? Oh my, whatever would you possibly want with Etter? Oh, excuse me for a second, my dear. I need a glass of champagne. It's in the early morning, but I always prefer to day drink as much as possible. Excuse me for a minute. And then she claps her hands loudly and then says, "Carmen, bring me a glass, please, won't you?" And then you hear a sound from elsewhere in the household. Somebody saying, "At once, madam." And then she leans back on her chair and says, "So, Etter, yes. Etter is in our employ, one of the many, many Nevans that we employ in our household. We are the biggest employer of Nevans in Hightown, I would have you know. We always look out for the underprivileged and the poor immigrants that come into Tartec, and we do try to give them as many opportunities as possible. We are very good with that, my husband and me. As for Etter, he's out working in the fields behind the house at the moment. But if you have a message that you would like me to relay to him, I certainly can."
Well, I don't know if I necessarily have a message. It's more to talk with him kind of in person about, I guess, mutual contacts. Could I walk out to the side and speak to him there?
"Well, I have to come with you, my dear, just because he's a bit of an impulsive man, a man of strong emotions, and he's been a bit distant lately, so I'll have to come out with you. But sure, we can go have a nice walk around the grounds as soon as I have my champagne." And then she calls again for Carmen, and then you see a young woman, a young Nevan woman, emerge from what appears to be a kitchen in the side, and she's bringing a platter with a glass of champagne on it. And so she gives it to Lady Malouse, and Lady Malouse takes a long sip and then says, downs it, and then gives it back to Carmen. Carmen nods at you and then takes her leave. You can see that she has, like all the other Nevans, she has very elaborate facial tattoos covering her entire body.
Mm.
She leaves and I think heads back into the kitchen area here, where she appears to be cleaning up and preparing all the drinks and all the refreshments for the evening festivities. Alright? And then Lady Malou says, Carven, such a dear, one of the best hired help we have on the whole grounds. She's quite an imaginative young girl too, always writing in her diary. I believe she's got the makings of a scholar one day. And so Lady Malou takes you by the arm and says, Alright, Lester, if you like, we can go out back.
Okay.
She opens the door, guides you outside. She nods to Jasper and Bernard, who are still maintaining the doorway, and says, Follow me, Lester, it's this way. So she walks around the back of the house, and you can see quite a few fields in the back, and you can see an old well, and many well-kept apple trees and orange groves. And then you can see what appears to be a house for the hired help up here. It's a huge house that essentially appears to be where all the Nevans are staying. Okay? And to the exterior is this little fountain. Alright, and so she leads you around to the side, and then she claps her hands again, like that, and then she says, Etta, there's a man here that would like to speak with you. Etta. And she has to repeat this 4 or 5 times before a man emerges from behind the house. Alright? And he's got a scruffy look to him. He looks like he's been working in the fields. He's a very strong man, very muscled man. Heavy tattoos all over his forearms and against the side of his face. And he emerges from behind the servants' quarters, and he looks at both of you and then nods to Lady Malou and says, Milady, good to see you. And then Lady Malou jumps up beside him and actually takes his arm in hers and says, Oh, Etta, you look so dashing, covered in dirt from working in the fields. Anyways, this young man here, this man, I believe his name was, what was it? Lefario? Lefario or Lawrence? He's got something he wishes to speak with you about. Etter walks over to you, and he actually kind of slides his arm out from Lady Malou's grip, and then looks at you dispassionately, and waits for you to say your piece.
No. My name is Lester LeFoe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a detective, and you're not in any trouble or anything like that. I'm not with the police or anything like that, but I have been hired to investigate a few disturbances around town. I was given your name as a potential contact, someone who might know a little bit more. Perhaps a mutual acquaintance. So the person who gave me your name was Lady Pernithia, and she was asking a little bit about. I was asking a little bit about disturbances around town, and things that may involve the king's life. We've been investigating a series of disturbances that have been leading up to Immortality Day. So I was wondering if you knew anything about any of that.
Okay, so a very interesting change has happened on Etter's face as soon as you said your full name, Lester LeFoe. A very interesting shift in emotions, and you can see his whole face hardening, and you can see his glance moving from your top to your bottom very carefully. And the muscles on his body tighten, and his arms tighten as well, and his hands go into fists, almost as if he's angry for some particular reason. He looks at you extremely, extremely intensely. But other than that, he doesn't make any huge change in his facial expression. It's more like these little subtle things, and you get the feeling that he's extremely impassioned, but taking great cares to not have it be any more evident than it already is. He almost appears to be gritting his teeth, even though you can't see them right now. And then finally, after about 20 seconds or so have passed, after you've finished your spiel, he finally opens his mouth and says, "Can't say I know anything about that, Mr. LeFoe. I believe you might have the wrong man."
Well,
now, remember, I want to encourage you to use your abilities. Remember, you have certain abilities that you can actually use when questioning people. Let me just show them to you on your character sheet. Remember, go down to your abilities in your character sheet, and you do have one called Eye for Deceit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you haven't used this too much so far. You used it with King Darian, but remember, if you want to determine whether someone's lying, you can always make a roll, and you do get a slight advantage on a roll. The final result will be higher than whatever it initially is.
Okay. I mean, I kind of think the guy's lying anyway, but I guess we could try it.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Give me a roll on a d20.
I got a 9.
9. Yeah. So he's definitely lying. You can tell that obviously there's been a lot of strange things going on over these last 2 days, and you obviously heard that this man was connected to the whole situation from Parfinia, and based on his reaction, he definitely knows more about the situation than he's letting on. The only question is, does Lady Malus know about the situation as well? And do the other Nevans in the household also know about it? Or is it just him? Yeah. So how would you like to proceed in this situation? Eder is looking at you intensely and saying, "Think you've got the wrong man, Mr. LeFoe." And then he walks back towards the madam of the household and appears to be waiting for you to say something else. If you don't have anything to say, he's probably going to go back to work.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I may very well have the wrong person. Like I said, we were just following up on something that we'd heard about, and it was mostly hearsay anyway. So, thanks for your time.
No problem, Mr. LeFoe. I do hope you find what's coming to you soon. And then he nods his head towards Lady Malus and says, "Excuse me, madam, I've got to get back to work." And then Lady Malus says, "Oh, Eder, you're always so hard-working. Do you want to come in for a cup of tea?" And says, "Afterwards, my lady." And then he heads back towards the fields and disappears behind the back of the household. Lady Malus comes up to you and says, "Eder, he's quite the dashing one, isn't he? Very striking when he's covered in dirt and working hard and sweat and grime and... Sorry, he was a bit intense. He is like that, I'm afraid. Very intense man, very passionate young man, and I'm quite fond of him. But he didn't seem to be able to help you very much. Why did you say you were looking for him again?"
Well, there's been a number of disturbances around the city, as I mentioned. A lot of them have been suspected to be tied to the Nevans, and His name was brought up on more than one occasion. Someone who might know more about what's going on. That's
Oh,
it, really.
oh, the Nevans always get a bad rap in this city. People are always suspecting them of the worst things, but I'll have you know that the ones employed by our household are the most wonderful, the most trustworthy, and the most dependable group of third world citizens you could possibly ever come across. They truly do my husband and I proud. Well, actually, not so much my husband, because the man's never around. Less and less these days, always on business trips. And I'll have you know, my dear Lothario LeFoe, or whatever your name was, it's quite lonely for me without him, and so these wonderful Nevans, they truly are my closest of friends. From Carmen to Etta to Jasper to Bernard, I love them so very much, and they're going to put on the best party tonight for Immortality Day Eve. It's going to be quite the shindig. So many people, I'm so excited. She continues to rant in your typical socialite kind of way.
Hmm. Well, I really appreciate the invitation.
Oh, I never actually said you were invited. You're from Lowtown. I never actually said you were invited. I'm sorry, my dear, but only Hightown people are allowed at my parties. It's nothing personal. You must understand. It's if we let one person in from Lowtown, we need to let everyone in. So, nothing personal,
No,
my dear.
Well, I hope it goes off well without a hitch.
Would you like to ask her anything, like if she knows anything else about Etter, or you can if you want to question her, and try to use your eye for deceit on her, or not.
Yeah. Before I leave,
You can also ask her about her husband if you want to know anything more about the guy.
yeah. Before I leave, can you tell me a little bit more about? You said there's numerous Nevans that work in your household. Are they all family members? Like they all work for this? They all come from the same place, or are they just numerous, like from different places in the city?
Well, they all appeared to know each other before we employed them. We tend to hire Nevans in batches, you see. And our last batch, I didn't like them very much. They made poor conversation, so I convinced my husband to let them go. And so our latest batch of Nevans, they've been working for us for about the last 7 or 8 months, and they're absolutely wonderful. Jasper and Bernard, the two wonderfully intimidating-looking men in front, are brothers. Carmen is not blood related to them, but appears to have known them through some sort of childhood connection. And Etta in the back, I can't say much about his family because he never really mentions them. And I can't say whether or not he's related to the others. He's always been a bit evasive on that topic, but all of them seem to look up to him and respect him in such a wonderful way. And it's not because he's the oldest either. Actually, Bernard is 2 years older than him. But he seems to command a sort of presence amongst them, which is very understandable considering how wonderfully intense he is.
Do they all live with you?
They don't live with me. They live in the servants' quarters. Yes, they don't live with me per se, though we all do share the household grounds, if that's what you mean. Try making a roll right now. Make a d20 roll.
D20?
Yeah.
Okay. What's that for?
Just make a roll. You'll see.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, make a roll. So, yeah. So, when she said that they don't all live with her, so to speak, you notice that through your eye of deceit, okay, you notice that her eyebrow twitches a little bit, just like a little tick. That seems to indicate that there might be more to the whole situation than she's saying. All right? She specifically said that all of them live in the servants' quarters and so on and so forth, but there might be something else there that she's not really mentioning.
Okay. So, Eder also lives in the servants' quarters.
Absolutely, she says. Once again, her eyebrow is twitching.
Hmm. I would imagine, given the issues that they've encountered in the city with discrimination and so forth, that servants' quarters and so forth would be sort of a safe haven for them.
It is. It's our servant quarters are the best in Hightown. Beautiful. It's. She points to the building in back of her, and it's a fairly. The structure appears to go down, and so it seems to have many levels underground. Okay, and you get the impression that the servants kind of, they walk down a series of steps, and there's different dormitories underground where they all spend their time. And she goes on and on for a little bit, talking about the upkeep and how it's well maintained and all that.
Hmm. Yeah. The for the people that don't necessarily live there, do you think they have a rougher time of it?
Do you mean the people that the Nevans who aren't employed at a manor house?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's we hear the news as well of ruffians in the city, and well, I'll have you know that the other manor houses don't really provide such lovely quarters for their hired help. So I can't really speak for them, but whenever I walk through the streets and pass by Lady Matilda's house, or Lady Jennifer's house, or Lady Ashley's house, I will say their places look like relative dumps compared to ours, and the servants all look extremely unhappy. We won the blue ribbon last year, I'll have you know, for the best treatment of our hired help.
Oh. So I imagine that the ones that don't live there, they must, given how difficult it is for them to find housing, what do they do? Out of curiosity.
Lord knows, they try their best to be employed by a noble house, or I suppose they end up in Lowtown. You would know better than me, seeing as how I never really go there.
I think it's hard for them in Lowtown as well.
I'm sure it must be very quaint to be surrounded by so many uncivilized Nevans. In comparison to us, ours are the most civilized in all of Hightown.
Well, you had mentioned that your husband is often out. Does he feel the same way as you do about the presence of the Nevans in the household?
My husband is, he's very supportive of our workers, and he does feel the same way. Well, to be honest, my dear, he's really not around that much. Lately it's been worse and worse. And it's his business, you see. Alright? My children live up north in the Tartec territories. They help to run a mining operation up north. Alright? And so my husband has been going there more often these days to check on them, to help maintain the source of our wealth. Can't say he's really been around to offer much insight into the hired help for the last 6 months or so.
6 months. Do you know if if he's still in town? Would I be able to have a word with him?
Well, I'm sorry, he just left on the cart just now. You missed him. He says he needs to go make a last-minute checkup on our mining operation. And I asked him, why in God's name do you have to do it tonight, of all nights, when the party is being arranged? And he said it was some sort of emergency, and he needed to go check up on the boys, and I'm afraid he's out of town on that cart. I mean, I imagine he's left the gates by now. You can check up on him if you want to, but I doubt you'll be able to catch him. Either way, he will unfortunately be missing the party tonight, and I don't care. It's fine, it's fine. We've been through this many times, me and him, and he seems to have different priorities at this point in his life. I'm okay with it. I truly am. You can see her eyebrow twitching like crazy at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
So there does appear to be a nervous tick that she has whenever she's not entirely telling the truth.
Well, that part, yeah, makes sense. Okay.
Now, my dear, is there anything else you would like me to tell you about? If not, I'm going to have another 2 or 3 glasses of champagne. And then I've got to put the decorations up on the house, and Carmen and I have to finish preparing the food, and then afterwards I have to ask Etta and Bernard and Jasper to wash up so they can greet the guests. A very busy woman. Is there anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's it for now. Thank you. You've been helpful.
Anytime, my dear Mr. LeFoe. You're welcome to stop by in the grounds anytime. But I'm afraid, as I said before, the party is only for Hightown members. But this has been quite a wonderful little exercise. I do enjoy talking with other quaint individuals from Lowtown. It's quite an interesting way to spend the afternoon. So she heads back inside the house and nods to Jasper and Bernard. They close the door behind her. And, yep, that's it.
Okay.
So, what would you like to do now?
The only thing I'd like to do, actually, is, I just want to look at the house. Just to look around it.
Yeah, sure. Feel free to walk around. Feel free to walk. Feel free to walk around. If there's anything particular you want to ask about, just point to it.
Well, I'd like to see if there's are there any like sort of windows that are low or areas that one could possibly gain entry?
Yeah. So as you can see on the map, these areas right here, these are doors. Okay. These are doors, and these areas right here, these are windows. You see the difference?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Those are windows. And so everything that doesn't have a thick block on it is a window. And there's windows on various sides of the household. You can try looking into the rooms if you want to. Keep an eye that Jasper and Bernard are keeping an eye on you, so if you try anything too suspicious, they're liable to jump you. But
yeah.
You can look around. There's windows all around the household, and the 2 main doors appear to be right here, where Jasper and Bernard are, and there's one on the side here, which apparently leads into the kitchen.
Okay. Let me see here. Is that Eder character still in view? Or is
he appears to have vanished into the fields and forests behind the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't see him at the moment.
Okay.
You can see so right now you can actually see Carmen. She's busy. She's kind of cleaning up the kitchen area and setting aside bottles for the evening. There appears to be a massive stock of wine that they've ordered. Yeah. So she's setting aside bottles and just appears to be doing servant work. After a while, you can see her kind of take a break and sit down and kind of wipe her brow. And so she sits for a little while, and she actually pulls out a diary, what appears to be a diary at least, and then starts writing inside it with a pen. She writes a few lines and then puts it back, and then goes back to work.
Okay.
And if you remember, Lady Malouse did mention something about how, she has the makings of a scholar one day. She's always writing in a book.
Maybe if I go around to the front here. This is a door right here. This is like where he's standing front.
That's a door, yes.
He can't see. Lester can't actually see through it, though, right?
He cannot see through the door. No.
He can't see through it. Oh, okay. Maybe I would go back to the window here.
Yeah.
And then to be able to look inside.
She's gone back to kind of pulling all the wine bottles out from their boxes and then setting them up on the table. And she has to examine the wine to make sure it's the right year, the right vintage, and stuff like that. She's not really doing anything else. She already took like her little break it seems, and so the rest of the activities you see her doing are fairly mundane.
Okay. Maybe I'll knock on the window.
Just like a creeper, just like knocking.
Yeah, just total creeper. Knock on the window.
Sure. What do you want to do? You gonna breathe on it like? What would you like to do? Is you knock on the window?
Knock on the window and just motion to the door.
She sees you. She turns around and she's like pointing to herself, and then I guess you motion to the door, like asking her to open it.
The door. Yeah.
Okay. She creaks the door open a little bit, and then says, "Excuse me, sir, you can't be back here. Lady Malus doesn't like to see me talking with visitors. You'll have to speak with her if you have any questions."
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to disturb you. I'm not really a visitor. I just actually spoke to her. My name is Lester LeFoe. I'm a detective in the city. I've been investigating a few things that have involved an attempt on the king's life, and a few leads took me here just because you guys are involved in a large party, throwing a large party, so only reason I stopped by and interrupted you was to just to ask if there's anything suspicious that you've noticed lately in the household or in the city, because we're kind of trying to follow up on anything that we can at this point.
Nothing suspicious, sir. There's nothing suspicious going on around here, and I really can't speak to you right now. I'm sorry. You'll have to leave. Sorry. She closes the door on you immediately,
okay.
And then goes back to work. And then she hangs a curtain up on the window so that you can't see her. If you would like to, you can make a roll to see if you noticed any tics that she exhibited when she said that. Anything that might indicate that whether or not she's lying or just nervous. You can try to determine that.
Okay. I don't know. It sounds all very suspicious anyway, so
yeah.
I'll try it anyway.
8. You rolled an 8. Let me see if that... Does that beat it? Eye for deceit. Yeah, that doesn't quite beat it, actually. You can't really tell whether or not she's just nervous because she's hired help and her madam doesn't want her to be talking with anyone, or if she actually knows something else that she isn't letting on.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically, you don't know how connected she is to this whole conspiracy, if there is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Whereas with Eder, it definitely seemed like something weird was going on.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, creeping in people's windows, just
Yeah.
talking with the servants. All right, where would you like to go? By now, Claudia has probably found out whatever there is to find out about Lord Malus.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something weird going on in this place. I don't know what it is. The very direct, like, "Hi, I'm Lester. I'm a private detective." It seemed to arouse a lot of suspicion. So.
Yeah.
I think we'll just back off for now.
All right. So you back off, and I'm going to assume that you go back to Hightown. Yeah. Go back to the kind of the random streets of Hightown. All right. I'll just move you back there. Okay. So you're back in the random streets of Hightown, outside of the manor of the Maluses, and then Claudia, she's been off somewhere. She comes back. Okay. She comes back and she's out of breath. And just breathing heavily, she's like, "Oh, Lester, I ran all the way across town. I couldn't really catch up with him. He left through the city gates and said he was going up north to the territories when he was talking with the guards up there. I overheard that. I couldn't really get very close. I tried to hop onto his cart at one point, but then Hubert popped out of my bag at the same time and let out a shit on the road, and so it discombobulated me and ruined my perception, and I kind of fell over at one point, so there wasn't really much I could do, Lester. I'm sorry. He got away.
That's okay. I talked to his wife. There's something weird going on here, and I talked to Eder.
Really? Etta?
Yeah.
What'd you find out?
He definitely is suspicious of something.
Ah, did you make friends?
No,
No.
no.
All right.
I think if we had been alone at night, he probably would have taken off or tried to cut me guts open.
Engaged
One or
in
the
the
other.
old fisticuffs, eh, Lester?
Yeah, but
Uh,
in broad daylight, I think he didn't want to do that in
all
front of his
right.
employer.
Well, I got to tell
Not
you,
making friends.
Lester, the whole place kind of stank like poshness to me. Not really a fan
Yeah.
of it. What did the lady of the house have to say?
Well, not much. She had a lot of. She said the same thing about her husband. He goes up north a lot to see their sons, but something weird about that too, because he's leaving tonight on a sudden trip up there, even though they have this big party going on.
So, Claudia says, according to the latest gossip from the Tartec Tribune, there's a lot of rumors been going on that Lord and Lady Malus been having some severe falling out issues over the last couple months. And I assume that might have something to do with his always being away for work and whatever. There's been rumors that Lady Malus is a little bit too friendly with the hired help, to be very honest. But I don't really know. There's been no verification on that.
It seemed that way.
Now,
He sounds lonely.
I don't trust any of these rich folk, Lester. They're all a bunch of diddlers, if you ask me.
She definitely knows more than she's letting on. I think she definitely knows more about how the Nevans may or may not be involved in any of this, and she didn't want to.
So, Lester, we gonna try to crash the party. We gonna try to get in there.
We're definitely not invited. I was told that point blank. So
What a
there are
massive
a couple.
bitch, Lester. We
Yeah.
should roll up in there, just, I don't know, maybe infiltrate the house, dig a hole underneath, through up the basement and whatnot. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we should go as we are. I think we may have to go in disguise, or at least with something that says that gives us some more credentials.
That reminds me, Lester, we need to fabricate something from King Darian saying that we're legit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So,
We gotta look.
yeah, so you've got the forgery kit, remember? And the forgery kit has just a ton of papers in it, a ton of seals. It's got King Darian's actual seal on it. So if you want to, you can have Claudia try to fabricate a note from King Darian saying that you guys are welcome and you're able to travel throughout the city unfettered and you're helping out with an investigation. That you're a private citizen, not necessarily connected with the police force, but a detective helping out with the investigation.
Okay, we could do that, or we could also. I wonder if we could also just create some papers or something. Create a disguise, I guess, is more like.
Yeah, so actually, I think I'll show you Claudia's character sheet. She actually does have a. What does she have? She actually does have a disguise kit on her. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so if you look down, if you go to her character sheet and look down on the bottom, near tool proficiencies and custom skills, along with her detective's tools, which you have as well, she does have a disguise kit. Now, a disguise kit, what she has, it's basically like a makeup kit, okay? So it's a makeup kit. She doesn't have like clothes and stuff like that, but she has a makeup kit, and she has like, it comes with a wig, okay? But she is proficient in using it. So if you potentially want to go in disguise, you could do that. Or if you want to try to forge something, you might be able to do that as well. Although you did kind of speak with the lady of the household and tell her outright that you were from Lowtown, so I don't know. It's up to you.
Yeah.
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 There's just a couple different options that you have.
Yeah, I think the disguise option is probably the better one, because at this point, I mean, I don't know. They already suspect something or other, which told us enough that there's something going on there. So
Well,
I think it's probably.
here's what we can do, Lester. If we want to try to get into this party, what we can do is we can try to come up with an elaborate disguise. Then we'll probably need to get some new clothes.
Yeah.
And what we could do is we probably need both a disguise and the invitation. So I could try to forge the invitation if I can get a copy of it. I just need to see it, and I could try to forge it. And if we have the disguises, then I think we might be okay. But yeah, we need to get that invitation copy somewhere. We could just come back later at night when all the rich bastards start queuing up to get into their household, and I could try picking some pockets, some of the old sleight of hand, since we are members of the sleight of hand society. I could try picking a pocket and maybe trying to see if I can get me an invitation. It would be quite funny to steal someone's invite and have us go in their place. Two rascals from Lowtown, so to speak.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe we could just do something like that in the commotion of everybody trying to get in. We sort of make our way in there. If we look the part, we might be able to get in a little easier. Now that'll be the hard part. So I think we have to get some better threads,
Better threads. Oh, I can look like a lady when I want to, Lester. Hubert sticks his head out of her bag of holding and lets loose another steady stream of pellets. It appears that the eggs that Claudia gave him this morning have messed up with the digestive system and given the lamb a case of the bubble guts. And so Claudia's like, but you shithead. No. So she's got to clean it up. On the streets of Hightown, by the way. So there's some people passing by and shaking their heads at you.
Why don't we do this? Let's see.
It's afternoon now. It's like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
In the afternoon. Yeah.
Let's go get something to eat, and let's come up with some personas. Like we'll create two characters that we can be. And we'll get some clothes to fit that. How about that?
Excellent idea, Lester. Okay, so all the restaurants and eateries in Hightown are super exclusive, and can't really get in. So the best bet would probably be to go back to Lura Square if you want to.
Oh, Lura Square, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so you guys meander down to this very posh area, and head back to Lura Square. I'll move Lester there as well, yep. Alright, you head back to Lura Square, and here you are. It's been a while since you've been here. I'll just put you guys in the middle. Oh, okay. Alright, so the same stuff is going on. Evelyn, if you remember Evelyn, she's still here, getting ready for the big night tonight, placating her animals. Her hired help boys are still doing their thing. Olivia the orang-utang is scratching her butt and trying to do a backflip in her crowded cage. So the food sellers are down here. And if you want to, you can try to grab something to comb air.
Yeah, let's comb air some Elmer's out here. Okay.
Alright, so they offer for lunch. They're basically offering kind of it's basically like a kebab. It's a kind of a new delicacy that's been imported into Tartec recently from the territories. It's kind of like kebab, and it's kind of like wrapped in a thick wheat covering, and there's like vegetables and tons of spicy meats inside. And it's one of those things where you squeeze it and then it pops up, and then you can chew it and like eat it as you're going along.
Okay.
That'll be just 5 gold for 2. It's like nothing.
Okay.
All right. So just mark down -5 on your character sheet if you're going to pay for it, or you can be a bastard and make Claudia pay for it.
think I can afford that. Let's see.
Claudia's like, we're gonna have ourselves some kebabs, Lester. Have ourselves some spicy meat bits, Lester.
Yep, some bits.
Some bits and pieces. Alright, so you buy your snack and you're chewing it and eating it. And you're free to sit anywhere you want in the square. It's a free square, and try to figure out how you want to proceed next.
Okay. Maybe we'll go over and sit by somewhere over here. On this, right over there.
Alright, so you sit and you pull open your kebabs and you start eating them. The damn thing is spicy, Joshua, and Lester tends to get a bit of the bubble guts when he gets the spicy food, so you feel a bit of the stomach acid popping up. Claudia seems okay with it, but it's good. It's good stuff. It makes your cheeks hot. It's a nice hot delicacy from the territories, but it's pretty good.
Okay, maybe we need some liquids and stuff to wash it down with, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna assume that you guys just bought water along with the food. Don't need to worry too much about that.
All right. So
how would you like to proceed, Lester? Later on this evening.
I think we need to come up with some names, some aliases to be for tonight. We're going to try to get into this thing.
Excellent. Who are you going to be, Lester?
Well, I think when I brought up the name Lester LeFoe, that didn't go over well.
Right.
And so I don't think I should look and act or be named the same person.
Okay. So what we're going to go for? You want to be, do you want to be, I don't know, a policeman? Well, that probably wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe something that's relatively benign. If I say something that, where it's people would incite a lot of curiosity, like I'm an artist, people would ask questions. I don't want them to ask questions. Maybe something like an accountant or
an accountant, Lester. Or maybe you could be a woman, Lester. Maybe we could. I've always wanted to put makeup on you, Lester. Maybe if we can put you in some frilly things, and you can go as a I don't know, a little noble princess from Hightown. That's another possibility.
That's a possibility.
You do have very nice cheekbones, Lester. Very a wig on you. So the disguise kit does have a wig. It's a brunette wig, and then she pulls it out and puts it on you, and it's like, you would make a fine lass, Lester. Just need to put some stuffing in your chest in the right places, and it'd be all right. We could always ask Joan and Alice, or Mother Meth and Ann if they've got something.
The problem would come with talking. Maybe that would be tough.
Well, you could be you could be a boorish woman from Hightown. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself here. But an accountant is good too.
Yeah.
What would your name be? She begins sketching in the dirt.
How about something like Alistair?
Ah, all right, Alistair. Alistair the accountant. All right. And what do you want to look like? Do you want to have like shaggy hair, or do you want to have a mustache?
Yeah. Why don't we do? Yeah, maybe. Actually, the more I think about it, I think the the woman thing is actually, I think I like that idea, the being the being the woman, because that's totally against the what they're expecting.
Oh, you
I'll be
like being a woman, Lester. I never knew you had this side of you. Alright, so we're going to put a dress on you. Like
yeah,
this. Gonna give you long hair. Like this. Alistair won't work, so maybe, I don't know.
Alice.
Alice. Well, I got a friend named Alice.
Well, I think that actually the best thing would be an elderly woman.
Elderly woman? You want to be a granny?
Yeah.
Alright. You want to be a frumpy granny? That would help explain the voice. Have a deep voice. We'll put some spectacles on you. And yes. You'll put okay, you can be fat too. We'll put lots of pillows in you, like this. You can be someone's nan, like a no. Oh, here's what we'll do. I will go as one of the many Hightown noble ladies. There's so many that nobody can keep track of them, but they're all bitches to each other, and I can be that. So I'll go as Lady. What should my name be? Lady Claudia. Well, I can just use my regular name, can't I? They don't know me.
Or a nickname. I mean,
Lady Claude. That'll be my
name?
name. Lady Claude. All right.
Claude.
And you will be my nan from. You'll be my nan from Devon, one of the territories. You'll be my nan. Leslie. All right. Lady Claude and Leslie, alright? So we'll make you fat and old and wrinkled, and we'll dress you up and make you look like a kindly old lady. Give me your best old lady impression, Lester.
Huh?
That's perfect. You can be hard of hearing. So just go around in the party, and whenever anybody talks to you, just be like, huh? Huh? Alright? And then I can be the innocent and beautiful young woman who has recently come of age in Hightown society and is trying to mingle with the professionals, so to speak. And it's a good excuse for us to stick together during the party too, because I can be helping you and carrying you on my arm.
Aspiring poet or something like
Aspiring poet! Poet Lady Claude. Beautiful. Poet Lady Claude and Nan Leslie. I like it. It's us, Lester! She draws a picture in the dirt. It's us!
I like it. So
we need to find... Well, I can get pretty things probably from Mother Methany Ann, or I can find them about in the boarding house. We just need to get old woman stuff for you. Did your mum leave anything lying around before she passed, Lester?
I have no idea.
Probably not, because she passed when you were a boy. I don't know.
And that wouldn't be fashion, I guess.
Well, speaking of your mum, Lester, there is that other thing that we need to do with the whole digging up your father, exhuming him business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we do have time this afternoon before this big party.
Do you want to check out the graveyard while we can? Because we've got lots of time to kill.
Yeah. Let's do that next. Why don't we try to square away these identities and stuff first, and then we'll maybe let's do this. Is there do you know of a secondhand shop around here, somewhere in Lowtown? Maybe like a...
I don't know of a specific secondhand shop, but what you can do is you can just try going to the boarding house, Mother Methany Ann's boarding house, and asking if she has old lady clothes and young lady clothes. Mm-hmm. It is right by One Willow Avenue.
Yeah. Maybe what we can do is do the exhuming of the grave, and then head back to the boarding house and kind of get cleaned up there, and then do the disguises there, and then leave as these two as Leslie and Claude in character, basically.
Yeah. Okay. And also remember, once you have all the necessary ingredients for that Forgotten Memory spell, you can go back to William the Wizard. He can help you cast the spell.
Oh,
There's that as well.
okay. I don't know if I'll have time for all that, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so one last thing before I forget. You did unlock these.
Oh,
Yeah. Lady Malouse, the wife of Lord Malouse. Lady Malouse is one of the premier socialites in Tartec. The annual parties she hosts the eve of Immortality Day are highly popular throughout Lowtown, and anybody who's anybody can be found lounging at the Malouse Manor before the big day. Lady Malouse is also a frequent target of the local gossip mongers who have latched onto the news that she's been lonely since the departure of her children. So, there we go, Lady Malouse, and you unlock the one for Lord Malouse, too. Yeah. One of the richest citizens of Hightown, Lord Malouse made his fortune in mining operations instituted in the northernmost Tarctic territories, Duma and Devon. His two sons now maintain the mines up north, but Lord Malouse makes it his business to frequently go on trips to check upon them. His constant absences have also given forth to rumors that not all is well between Lord Malouse and his wife. Yeah. So this is all stuff that you gathered from talking to them, chasing after them, and reading the Tarctic Tribune.
Okay.
Alright. So, you've got these identities figured out, Lady Claude and Nan Leslie. So now, where do you want to go within the city?
Let's go to the graveyard.
Okay.
While we're doing that.
The graveyard. Alright, so you make your way over to the graveyard, and the thing about this particular graveyard, this is the graveyard for pretty much the people in Lowtown, because the nobles have their own private graveyards. Yeah. So it's kind of shabby and in disrepair, and it's kind of always foggy there because it's near the docks, and lots of condensation from the water, and lots of clouds coming in. And it's actually not too far from where, at the very beginning of this whole encounter, this whole case, you fought the orang-utang, Olivia the orang-utang. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Alright, so it's by the graveyard. Let's go to the graveyard.
Okay.
Just move to the right map. Okay. Okay, we're in the graveyard now. Alright, it's a foggy, misty day. It's about, I don't know, maybe about 3 p.m. in the afternoon now. And you're in the graveyard.
Okay. Looks like a strange character in the middle of the map there.
Yeah, and so this guy actually, before you left William last time, William mentioned to you that there was a graveyard caretaker that's been up to some shady business lately. I'll show you his info sheet again. Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah, that
Yeah,
one.
Beppo, the gravedigger and crypt keeper of the public Tarctic graveyard. There's been some speculation that he's actually been kind of like looting stuff from the bodies in the graves lately and pocketing them for himself, but there's been no proof. And William actually mentioned to you last time that if you can find proof of this, there's a 700 gold reward.
Huh.
Yeah. So you've communicated with Beppo before. He does know who you are. It's always struck you that this guy is like a couple marbles short of a full sack, basically. He's got some problems.
Okay. Well, do we know where the father's grave is?
Yes. So if you look up in the map, your father was buried in the LeFoe family crypt. Okay, that's right here, where I'm pointing to on the map right now. Your father was buried next to your mother in the crypt. Your father had enough money to afford an actual like little crypt to house the two coffins. whereas like the poorer people are just buried in the ground, like over here.
Okay.
Yeah. You do know from walking through the graveyard before, but that this structure in front of you here, this is Beppo's house.
Okay. Well, why don't we make our way over to the crypt then?
Yeah, sure. Head on over.
You said it was this one up here.
Yeah. Yep. It's the one in the middle. So as you pass by him, Beppo appears to be fiddling around with a shovel, trying to dig maybe a new grave or two. And he sees you as you come by and says,
"Oh, hello. If it isn't Lester. How's it going, Lester, old buddy, old pal? You here to visit the mother and the father?"
Yeah, just came to pay the respects.
Pay their respects. Very nice indeed.
So the thing about Beppo, he smells like the sewers that you go through. Like, he always smells terrible. Okay?
Oh.
And you don't know if it's just because he never bathes, or, you know, he just works in a graveyard, but he always smells god-awful. Okay? So every time you see him, you tend to, your stomach tends to churn a little bit. Claudia's like, ugh. And so Beppo's like,
"So, trying to see the family grave. Can I help you in any particular way, my lord?"
Well, sort of a really, really odd request.
"Yeah? What would that be?"
one other thing. So Beppo has the keys to all the crypts. Okay, so if you look,
Yeah.
there's a key. There's a big door barricading the crypt. So all the entry points to the crypts are currently in his possession.
Yeah. Well, how should I say this? As I've gotten a little bit older, I guess I've been touched with a little bit of sentimentalities. I realize that I don't have that many things of my father or mother, and there was a particular a piece of clothing that my father was buried in that I don't know. I just wanted to see one more time, and so I wanted to take a look inside his coffin, believe it or not.
"You wanted to look inside his coffin? Well, alright. Is that all you wanted to do?"
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's a sort of a silly sort of sentimental thing, I guess. I'm not
sort of
a little bit-
sentimental thing.
Yeah, I'm a little bit. I've avoided doing it for a long time because, you know, it's not exactly. I don't really want to see my father in that way. But on the other hand, I mean, like I said, I don't have that many things that he left behind. Not personal things, anyway.
Huh.
And
Now, interestingly enough, your father was buried in a fine coat. Interestingly enough.
oh,
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I know you just made that up, but yeah. So he was embalmed, and he wore, like, obviously your whole family likes the color green.
yeah.
Your father wore a very fine, elaborate green coat, more elaborate than the one you're wearing now. Okay, and it
Yeah.
was one of his finest, and he was buried in it. So you can base your talk on that particular fact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was, you know, one of the few things he left behind very few things that were personal. A lot of books and things like that, but not really personal things. And I just always have memories of him with that particular set of clothes, and I wanted to get one last look at them to be able to describe them to an artist, to be able to commission a picture.
So a sentimentality visit. That's what Beppo says. Well then,
Yeah.
I suppose we can do something about that. Maybe I can let you in for I don't know, maybe 70 gold, maybe.
You're gonna charge us to go into the crypt of my own family.
Well, it's I didn't mean any offense, my lord. Sorry about that. That does make sense. Never mind, my lord. I'll just open it up for you.
And so Claudia's like, I don't trust this guy, Lester. Seems like a money-hungry bastard.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have Claudia stand in the entryway so he doesn't just try to lock us in.
All right. Okay, that's a good idea, actually. All right. So
I just whisper that to Claudia, so just stand in the entryway.
all right. So Beppo pulls out a very jangly set of keys from the confines of his belt,
Rustles through them and says, "Oh, now which one was it? The LeFoe family crypt. Right? There's the Laris family crypt, the Lewis family crypt, the the LeFoe family crypt. Here we go."
and he opens the heavy door. It slides open.
And then he says, "All right, my lord, it's all yours, and I didn't mean any disrespect by asking you for gold. It's just a little bit of graveyard humor, if you catch my drift."
Sure.
And he stands outside.
He says, "Well, if you need anything, my lord, I'll just be here, and let me know when you want me to close the grave for you."
Okay, thanks, Beppo.
So where do you want Claudia to stand? You want her to keep an eye on him, right?
Yeah, just in the entryway of where the gate is.
Okay, so like right here?
I get, yeah. Also so she can keep an eye out for, to the entrance of the actual graveyard itself to see if there's any suspicious characters.
Yeah,
So,
good call. Alright, so you go inside. Now, this one's your father's, okay? And this one on the left is your mother's.
Okay.
Right, it's pretty heavy to push the top of the coffin open. You'll have to actually make a strength check to see if you can push it open solo, because you might actually need Claudia's help in order to do it,
Oh, okay.
which might be a problem, but we'll see. So let's see. Your strength is Strength is 12, and you get a +1 to any roll. So yeah, let me make a strength check. Make a roll to see if you can push open the crypt. 18, very good. You don't need Claudia. Nicely done.
Oh, nice.
All right. So with a big heave and a big hoe, you push open this huge covering. All right.
Okay.
And you see the body of your father. Okay? I'll just move you to the side for a minute so you can take a look at it. Alright? You push open the covering of the crypt. And obviously when you push it open, there's this huge musky scent of kind of oldness and dust and kind of the scent of body fluids being embalmed for a long time that kind of hits you and makes you briefly nauseous. And then finally, once you get over that, you see your father lying down in the crypt. And his body, because it was embalmed, it's still intact. It hasn't begun to decay, but obviously his features are extremely sunken. And this is your first time seeing your father in the flesh, aside from that weird dream you had last time. So it's something of an emotional experience for you.
Hmm. Well,
And you feel a bit dizzy. You feel a bit lightheaded. Part of that's because you just pushed aside the grave and got caught a whiff of all of this ancient grave stench. But also, seeing your father, it's an emotional experience.
yeah. Well, let's grab some hair if we can.
Now, before you do that, there's one interesting thing. Your father was buried in a green coat. That green coat is nowhere on him, as you can see.
Yeah. Oh. Hmm. Interesting. Let me look at him. I'm gonna do one of these. Can I look at him?
Yeah, sure.
What is that called? Perception thing? Is that perception?
Yeah,
check?
sure. You can make a perception roll to see what you can perceive about him. Sure, go for it. A 16. Okay, that's pretty high. Yeah. All right. So you remember how your father was buried, right? And he had his arms crossed over each other, and his eyelids were kind of glued shut, and his mouth as well. And he appears like he's actually been tampered with. It appears that somebody has moved him because his arms are no longer in the same position. Okay, they're lying by his sides. Alright? So it appears that someone's actually moved him and messed with him a little bit.
So maybe someone took his coat.
Yeah. Someone might have taken his coat.
Maybe someone asked Buffalo about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can get some hair or fingernail clippings or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to, you can... hair might be the easiest thing to get, because you can just grab onto a tuft of it and cut it off with your short sword.
Well, let's do that.
Or if you want to be more delicate about it, you can actually use your detective's tools and chop off bits and pieces of it with the... or pull off large pieces of it with the pliers that you have in the detective's kit.
Well, whatever we can. Like, grab some from his head.
Okay. So
Just yank some out.
right. So you grab some hair from his head and you kind of pull it off and with the pliers, and then you put it into your I'm gonna say that you put it into a bag, a bag that's one of your little forensic bags in the detective's kit. So mark that down on your character sheet. That you've got a lump of hair from your father. You can put it under possessions, or you can put it in treasures if you want to. If you consider hair from your old man a treasure.
Hair from Pops. All right.
Hair from Pops. A lump of hair from Pops. Very good. So Claudia's been kind of watching you from as you do it, and she's also feeling a bit nauseous from the air inside the crypt. And she says, "Oh, it's a bit gross, Lester, walking around with your dead father's hair."
Yeah. I'm going to close this up again. Well, actually, before I do that, can you call Beppo?
Yeah, sure. So Claudia turns around to call Beppo. Okay. Now, as she turns around, you actually see Beppo going for her with a shovel. Okay? He's swinging his shovel at her. Now, I just made a roll for Claudia to see if she notices this. she senses it. Claudia managed to roll an 18, okay, which is pretty high. So Beppo is swinging his shovel at her, and then I'm gonna say she turns around right as the shovel is coming at her. She says, "Holy shit!" and she rolls to the side. She rolls to the side over here, and then Beppo staggers forward with the shovel, crashes down to this part right here, and she says, "Jesus, Beppo, you're trying to kill me!" And then all of a sudden, some people emerge from the space behind the crypt. Yeah. The space where Claudia was unfortunately not watching. And they are... look who it is. You hear a familiar voice. Alright? A familiar voice emerge from behind the crypt. And... appears to be none other than the old friend of yours from the Sleight of Hand Society, McGregor. And you hear a guy scream out, "Ah! Got you right where we want you, Lester LeFoe. Thanks for the tip-off, Beppo." And so, it appears that you are stuck inside the crypt, and there's some goons outside trying to get at you.
Okay.
And that is where we're going to stop for today. A cliffhanger.
I was getting ready to
keep you
cliffhanger
waiting for
right.
next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Alright, so, but the good situation right now is that Claudia did not get knocked out or injured by the shovel whack from Beppo.
Yeah.
She managed to avoid it. So you got McGregor and two of his goons here, and you are stuck inside the crypt, and Claudia is unfortunately facing all of these dudes outside. So.
Okay. Well, the good thing is we have some weapons actually.
You do have some weapons. You have quite a few weapons. You have a freaking fire shooting crossbow. And smoke bombs, smoke bolts, and Claudia's got a staff. So we can see how this plays out next time. Or if you want, we can do it now. But I figured you might have to go to bed. So.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place to end on.
Yeah,
I figured we probably wouldn't get to the resolution of the party and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. All right.
That'd be a good place to start, though. Actually, with the battle.
Yeah, that'd be a good place to start with the battle. So. So yeah, you'll it's a good place to start because you can sort of plot out your strategy. Claudia right now is in a bad place because she's got 4 dudes surrounding her, and you're kind of inside a confined space. You'll actually have to leave the crypt before you can really engage in the battle.
You have a crossbow.
Yeah, or you can use the crossbow. Yeah. Use the crossbow to just shoot the hell out of Beppo, or just hide behind your parents' gravestones and snipe at them. So there's quite a few possibilities right now.
Take the old man's body and throw it.
Yeah, it's quite a few possibilities for strategy. But yeah, Claudia is in a bit of a predicament. But thankfully she didn't get a hit from the shovel.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh,
well done.
Okay.
Yes. Any questions or thoughts before we wrap up?
I don't know. I was thinking like the investigating the in Hightown, what it would have been like if had gone in it with a disguise and all that kind of stuff initially. I thought to do the whole forgery thing first.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It might have been a little bit better. But I mean, Lady Malou still took you in the house and gave you a tour, so you didn't really need any forgery for her. You might have been able to kind of like establish a presence for yourself, and like if you had like managed to like forge an invitation or like gotten like some kind of
seal from King Darian or something like that, you might have been able to get like her bodyguards to trust you more, or to maybe be more respectful towards you, or to get more information. Yeah, I think the way it worked out was fine, because she was nice enough to you. She obviously wanted someone to talk to because of her husband.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
But it's worth noting that
I didn't really know what to add.
Yeah, but now it's worth noting that her bodyguards also know what you look like now, know what you actually look like, and know your name and everything. And you talked to Eder and you told him who you are, and there was a reaction there. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And you creeped on Carmen in the window, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
So
you could have just like stood there staring at the window.
Stood there staring, yeah.
Staring.
Yeah.
That would have been. Not that would have creeped you at all.
Yeah. No, that was good. That was good. You managed to exchange some. Words with her and got a glimpse at her behavior. So that's good. It's investigating.
Yeah. Huh.
And so the two disguises you came up with were Lady Claude for Claudia, and Nan Leslie for yourself. So your job next time will be, well, first of all, to get out of this predicament without either one of you dying, and then to establish those details of yourself and maybe find a way to get into the party. And then there's also the whole matter of the spell. Once you have all the ingredients for the spell, William can help you cast it. You can figure out exactly what your father's connection to this whole thing is.
Yeah.
And also figure out who the hell took his coat.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Who the hell took his coat? Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe after it's all done we can search Beppo's house.
Yeah. And also, if you wanted to, you could even wear your own father's coat as part of the disguise. That's another possibility as well.
That's true. Although it probably smells, I imagine.
That's true. It probably does smell, but we'll see. We'll see what's going on with Beppo and the grave and this Putz McGregor.
Okay.
Alright, well done. The plot thickens. The game is afoot.
Episode 7.
Episode 7. We'll find out what happens in Episode 8 of The Case of the Almost Assassination. Over 10 hours of thrilling content on YouTube so far.